with this new section called 11th Continent this year, and Christoph Terhecht, the new director of the festival, describes the films we have selected as journeys into terra incognita, and with this description I want to introduce the director of Angelo, Markus Schleinzer from Austria, because I can tell you this film is really a journey into terra incognita. It's about a young boy from North Africa who had to travel to Austria in the beginning of the 17th century. And I just want to point out that even if the film takes place 200 years ago, it's a very, very current history. So please welcome the director, Markus Schleinzer. Is there anything you want to say before the start of your movie?
No, I don't want to say anything before the movie starts. The movie should explain itself like every art piece. It should speak to you in your own language. But if there's something you want to talk about to me after the movie, I will be glad to be here and answer every question and for every discussion which can be done. Thank you very much.
And I want to know, is this story well known in Austria? Does everybody know about this Angelo's story?
It's difficult to say. I hate the idea to say this movie is based on a true story. There has been a person called Angelo Suleiman, and he lived in those days in Austria. But the problem with him and his biography is that we can only be sure about him at the middle of his 40s. So the first time we get him for science is when he already turned 45. Then he was working in Vienna he had to work in Vienna for a duke, and you find him in his books of spending. So for every year there's a book, and it's written down, yes, we spend this and that money for this and this person. And you find Angelo Suleiman, we bought him clothes for here and a feather for the head, because they did not pay any money for his work, so he got paid in clothes, and that he could live there and sleep there. There's only, I think, three letters have been saved where we can hear his own voice, and everything else is what people thought about him, what people taught about him. But when I was a child, I grew up with a lot of stories about this Mr. Angelo Suleiman, and I, of course, thought that every story is true. So I was told that he was the best friend of the emperor, and he did this and that and things like this. And when I started to research on this project, sorry, do we really?
Markus, maybe you can detail the meticulous research that you had to do for this, and having just like morsels and bits and pieces. I mean, that must have been quite a task.
I answer this one in English. The interesting thing was that, as I just said, I grew up with so many stories. Then I found out, when I really started to research, that most of them had been wrong. So, as I said, first time we really can witness him, he already turned 46. And that there's so less material, there are only 3 handwritings, which are his original sound, him speaking. There's 1 letter, and then when he secretly married, he also wrote on the certification of marriage that he's no slave. So these are the only bits where we really can sense him. And this was very touching for me, because I thought, okay, in his days, he got robbed, he got kidnapped, and we brought him to Europe, to our country, to Austria, and we just put some story upon him. We gave him some, individually, we gave him a biography. We made him what we wanted him to be. And we still do this nowadays, because still, when I'm in Vienna, there are people saying, yes, he's the first very wonderful example for migration, which I doubt, because at the beginning of his biography here on the continent of Europe is kidnapping, so a good example for migration can never start with a crime. And other people say, yes, of course, he was so grateful for the society he worked for the white European society, that at the end of his days he donated his own skin to the museum, which is a terrible idea. to me, and I think this can't be possible. So it's very hard in my...
It can be possible. It can be possible. This is the worst part of it. It can be possible, you know? It can be possible.
It can be possible.
What you know what they did with South African ladies, you know, the Venus. They took it to the museum and then they put it back a few years ago.
The question was, why did you choose to make the character?
Yes, I decided for the actress.
Oh, okay.
And the actress brought this with her. And I said, it's okay, then we take it. Because to be honest, when I grew up in the 70s, there were still a lot of old people from Second World War with one leg or one arm, and somehow they disappeared out of our society because for some 70 years we hadn't had war. In those days, I would have been dead, I think, 50 times. I would have no teeth, no things like this. So I really like the idea to have this, it's about the body as well, the movie. To have this vulnerability of the body too, and have this daughter, and she has this, why not? Very important for me from the beginning, because in the entire movie there are a lot of things which are not historical, because I don't believe in the possibility to make an historical movie. You can make an historical movie which is, you know, 20, 30, 40 years ago, but after a certain period of time you're running out of material, because the houses do not exist. People look completely different nowadays because of health care and things like this. So from the very beginning I thought, okay, why do I try to achieve a goal which is not achievable? I was told that the perfect historic movie is Barry Lyndon, but when I watch Barry Lyndon I only see the 70s of the last decade. So I think that the most historic movies can only show their own decade and nothing else. But that's not the reason why I did it. I think to remain this issue in the past is limiting. Because to my mind, things like this are still ongoing in Europe. Because the Europe I know, and when I talk about the Europe I know, I talk about, you know, Germany and France and Austria, and never about Moldau and Bulgaria and the poor parts of Europe, because we always forget the poor parts of Europe. When I talk about the Europe I sense all the time, it's rich Europe, which mostly is based, the richness and its culture is mostly based on things which were stolen from different cultures, like from the African continent, for example. Yeah? So you will find no castle in Spain which hasn't been built with the money from another continent. And it's still ongoing, the way we deal with the others in society, the way we deal with the people which are the so-called others or different is still the same. Still, when we treat them nicely, still we are like the parents and the others are the children. Yeah? I come from Austria. Austria is not a very open-minded society. So if you have someone getting into the sub and he's black, he is the drug dealer. So we are very limited in our referring on other people. And that's the reason why I said, okay, this is not only in the past, it's still ongoing, it's modern. So I don't want to make a movie where the people can lean back in the chair and say, ah, it's so beautiful, it's about something, and I don't have to deal with it. No, confronting the people, keep the dialogue open to say it's still something contemporary. So don't lean back and think it has nothing to do with you and your own way of thinking. Staying in dialogue with yourself in the time you're living in. Much more a story about the society that surrounds us, the main character, than of course a story about the main character. But I did a lot of research, and what I found is this, it's not only the society that silences him down. I think it's also his own trauma he must have had after this kind of biography. I mean, when you are a boy and you are 5, 6, 7 years old and you are kidnapped in your own country and you have to walk half the continent, and then there have been 2 routes of ships where they just brought children to Europe. So one was to Messina and one was to Porto, and these 2 trades were only for the children. They must have been horrible in those days, because many of the children died even before they went on those boats, and many children died on the boats. So finally we have a person who has a trauma himself. And there's this, and thinking about my own society, which is dealing like this all the time. So the Europeans I know are very sweet in their centralistic thinking that we are better than someone else because we have such an old culture, but we mean only the best for everyone else to come if they just take and become what we want them to become. So first thing, they all have to be baptized because we don't like so very much different religions, because we're afraid about everything we do not understand, but on the other hand, we are not intelligent enough to think about other religions and are not so interested about learning something. So everything which is distant and far away should stay distant, and when it comes to us, it has to become like us. So this is the idea of European immigration. But this is never working, to my mind, because I think there are some problems. I think that not everything can be combined on this planet. Why should it be? But still I think to point out on others and creating them to be the others is a dangerous thing as well. Because as we learn from history, building up walls to keep people outside only makes the people inside imprisoned. It has always been this way and it will always be this way. So I don't want to live in a country which is discussing, shall we have now a wall to this country or to this neighborhood or to this neighborhood. I much more would appreciate to have some politicians talking about how to solve problems without getting enemies again and without leading some countries to have war against each other. And this is something which always interested me, working on the idea of the others. Who are the others in society? Because when we look at each and every one here in this room is different than the other one. We are all the others. And this is something we have to understand. Because nowadays in Europe we have a huge problem with politicians who are just working for their own interests and are lying like this Trump person. I don't know how you think about him, but he's talking so much bullshit, and he's only making blah 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 noise and sound and stop people thinking. And this is a very dangerous thing, because nowadays we have a lot of politicians who just think about their own way of living, and they don't think in decades. And this is something we really need now, having again politicians who think in decades and not only about them. This is not going to answer your question, so it's not leading anywhere. But this is in a way my motto in what I'm working on. And I always like the idea of having the people developing their own thinking. This is not a movie where you have the security that you get the sense what I want you to know. Yeah? There's no music which says now you have to feel pain or now you have to feel happiness. You have to make it yourself, because I like to be in a room with people who have their own thoughts. Sometimes it's comfortable. I had some discussions where people were yelling at me and said, "There's nothing. What is this about? This is a shitty movie." That's okay too. If it comes from you, it comes from you.
That, first of all, she didn't know that it was based on a true story. She thought it was completely fictional, and that actually informed the question also in a way, because she thought it was it informed your kind of a white person's perspective and like kind of trying to create a utopia of the way, like a utopic way, an idealistic way of how a black person would be treated. And the question for that is, why is it? She noticed that there were very few exterior scenes. Everything was enclosed. Everything was indoors. And what, given also that this is based on a true story, what made you choose that? And the way she saw it is that it was because it was to enclose this story in kind of an idealistic way outside of the real world, real society, that is quite different. Yeah. So that was the question, why did you choose to do that?
I get this very often, that, or not so often, but it happened that I was said that this just shows the white view, and that they want, that we want, or me as a filmmaker want to keep this, old-fashioned way how white European people look at black people. And this is really a problem, and this really touches me, because this is not what I intended to do. The problem with this Angelo figure is that following this based on a true story, things I found about him, I saw no way and no possibility to make him a hero, or at least to get his, to empower himself. And I thought that it would have been wrong anyway, because I knew how the story was going to end, and it would have always ended in the museum, and it would have always ended like this. And I thought that making him more emancipated or whatever would make it even more harder or more cruel, and I don't believe this. So everything thought that he's so nice to him and he's treating him so well, and this was the shitty part. And the same way they were so nice to him, they stuffed him in the end. So everything was okay, everything was all right. And so I'm really, sometimes I have people saying this is giving me a hard time because it shows a kind of blackness. White people want us to stay like this or think about us. I know that some people say it's not a contemporary view on black community, but to me it's I know that it exists. It's existing, at least in my country. I know this. And as I said before, this is much more a movie about my own society, showing them what they do. Because I was, and I have to say honest, I was afraid to make a movie about a black guy and then he's a hero, because who am I? Because in my own country I was asked, you are doing a movie about a black guy? Hey, you are not black. How can you dare to make a movie about a black guy? You never can do it right. Yeah? I mean, for the entire world. Yes, and said, I'm not making a movie about a black guy. I'm making a movie about my shitty society dealing with a black guy and how they dealt with him. And this was the reason why we chose all this kind of artwork, the small format, because I was afraid, I know we have to do it, I was afraid that giving him too much space, people would start to say, yes, why didn't he move? He had so much space, why didn't he move? But I don't think that this guy had so much space. Of course, he was dressed properly and he was dressed sweet, but at the end of the day, he had to go to the roof and sleep there. And at the end of the day, they held him like an animal, like a pet, like a dog. He was not free to go anywhere. He was not allowed to marry, so he had to marry secretly because he wanted to have a wife on his own, like he saw in all the other houses. So he had to marry secretly, and when the Duke found out that he got married, he fired him. So that was the reason why we had all this like in prison, very seldom going outside, just stay inside and have this form chosen. I'm really sorry that we have so run out of time.